All right, let's talk about blockchain. Now, you've probably heard about it, most likely because of Bitcoin, right? But that's just the beginning of the story. The journey of this technology is so much bigger. It's a four-generation evolution from a simple idea of digital cash to what could become the invisible backbone of our future. Let's dive in.
So, first things first, let's bust a huge myth right out of the gate. When you hear blockchain, your brain probably jumps straight to Bitcoin, and that makes sense. Bitcoin was the spark for sure, but it's really just chapter one in a much, much bigger story. The technology itself has grown into something way more powerful than just digital money.
So, what even is a blockchain at its core? Okay, imagine a digital notebook, but instead of one person owning it, everyone in a network gets an identical copy. Every time a new transaction happens, a new page, or a block, gets added to every single copy of that notebook. And here's the magic trick. Once a page is added, it's cryptographically sealed. You can't go back and change it, you can't tear it out. It's a shared book of records that can't be tampered with. What makes this whole thing so revolutionary really comes down to these four pillars. First up, decentralization. That means nobody's in charge. No single company, no bank, no government. Second, it's immutable. Once something is recorded, it's there forever. Third, you have transparency, since everyone in the network can see what's going on. And finally, there's consensus. This just means the whole network has to agree that a transaction is valid before it's added. Put them all together, and you get a system that's built on trust. Now, this evolution didn't happen overnight. It's actually unfolded in these really distinct stages, or what we call generations. We're going to walk through each one, starting with blockchain 1.0, the birth of digital money. Then moving to 2.0, the programmable web. Then the current race for speed and scale in 3.0. And finally, what the future holds with 4.0. So let's wind the clock all the way back to the beginning. Generation 1.0. This was the spark, and it was laser-focused on one simple but revolutionary idea, creating a brand new kind of money. You have to remember the context here. We're talking 2009. The world was still reeling from the massive financial crisis. There was this deep-seated desire for a financial system that wasn't under the thumb of big banks or governments, something more transparent, something that couldn't be easily manipulated. And right on cue, a solution appeared: Bitcoin. Dropping in 2009, it used this new blockchain technology to create the world's first decentralized digital currency. Its purpose was simple and clear: let people send money directly to each other without a middleman. It quickly earns the nickname digital gold, a whole new type of asset, completely outside the old system. But pretty quickly, the really smart people in this space started thinking, wait a minute, if this technology is so secure, why are we only using it to track money? And that single question is what launched the next massive leap forward: blockchain 2.0. See, the thing about that first generation, even though it was groundbreaking, was that it was a one-trick pony. It did one thing, and one thing only: money. It was kind of like having this incredibly powerful computer that could only run a calculator app. I mean, useful, sure, but what if you could run any program on it? That question led to the brilliant invention of smart contracts. The easiest way to think about them is like a high-tech vending machine. You put in the coin, that's the condition, and the machine automatically gives you your drink, that's the outcome. Smart contracts are just self-executing agreements with the rules written directly into code. They run on the blockchain, so they happen automatically, exactly as programmed, with no middlemen and zero chance of interference. And the jump from Gen 1 to Gen 2, it was absolutely massive. If Bitcoin was the calculator, then Ethereum, the pioneer of blockchain 2.0, was like a programmable world computer. This just blew the doors wide open for a whole universe of new possibilities, from decentralized apps, or dApps, to entirely new kinds of companies owned by their members, called DAOs, all running on the blockchain. So now you have this explosion of creativity and new applications being built. But all this new traffic started to create some serious growing pains. The networks were getting clogged, slow, and expensive. And that kicked off the next era: the frantic race to achieve speed and scale. The core problem everyone ran into is something now known as the blockchain trilemma. Think of it like this. You're trying to build the perfect car. You want it to be unbelievably fast, completely indestructible, and super cheap. Can you get all three? Probably not. You're going to have to make a trade-off. Well, for blockchains, the three big goals are decentralization, security, and scalability, which is really just a fancy word for speed.
And you can see this balancing act playing out right here. You look at Bitcoin, it's incredibly decentralized and secure, but boy, is it slow. Then you have newer chains like Solana, which are lightning fast, but they have to make some compromises on the decentralization front to get that speed. And then there's Ethereum, which is in this constant battle to try and nail all three at once.
So to tackle this trilemma, Generation 3.0 unleashed this whole wave of cool innovations. We started seeing brand new blockchains built from the ground up for performance. We got these clever things called layer 2s. You can think of them like adding an express lane onto a busy highway. And we found better ways for different blockchains to actually talk to each other. The mission was simple: make this stuff faster, cheaper, and way more efficient.
And that brings us to today, and a glimpse into the future with Generation 4.0. This one's a little different. It's not just about making blockchain better. It's about making it disappear into the fabric of everything we do online.
Because, let's be honest for a second, for the average person, using blockchain today is still way too complicated. It's not exactly user-friendly. That complexity, that friction, that's the final hurdle keeping it from being adopted by everyone. And that's the hurdle Blockchain 4.0 aims to clear.
The vision for this fourth generation is, well, it's huge. We're talking about seamlessly weaving blockchain together with other powerful technologies like AI and the Internet of Things to create smarter, more autonomous systems. The focus is finally shifting away from the tech itself and towards creating real, tangible value in our lives, in things like tracking our food supply chains, securing our healthcare data, and managing our digital identities.
Okay, so we've just traveled through 4 generations of blockchain technology. What's the big picture here? After all that, why does this journey really matter?
Well, we have to be clear, the work is far from done. There are still major hurdles to overcome around scalability, security, and especially government regulation. Not to mention, many older networks still use a ton of energy, and that's a huge barrier.
But even with those challenges, the potential is just undeniable. Projections show the blockchain market hitting over $300 billion by the end of 2025. I mean, just let that number sink in. That tells you everything you need to know about the massive economic shift this technology is expected to create. And I think this quote from our source material sums up the endgame perfectly. The goal isn't for all of us to become blockchain experts. No, the real goal is for the technology to become so reliable and so deeply integrated that it just fades into the background, powering our systems quietly and efficiently, just like the internet does today.
And that leaves us with one last idea to chew on. We tend to think of successful technology as something we actively use, an app, a device. But what if the ultimate sign of success for blockchain is when we no longer have to see it or even think about it at all? What if its greatest achievement is to simply become the invisible, trustworthy foundation for a more transparent and efficient world?